are these criminal prosecutions going to be picked up by the DOJ? Because the system is that they don't have to criminally prosecute these referrals.
Well, I remember, Ben, what day was it? It was like the day after the election. I came on your show and we talked about Big Tish James. And I think we made some headlines. I got in trouble again, which is pretty routine on your show, which I enjoy. It doesn't bother me at all. But I think I told Big Tish that her fat ass may be going to prison. And wow, who knew that we would have been Nostradamus that day? Because now there is pretty compelling evidence that Big Tish, oh, there you go, I dare you. So I would say to Big Tish, when I warned her several months ago that we're going to put her fat ass in prison, I think that's actually going to come true.
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. We've got to talk again about New York Attorney General Letitia James. She lawyers up, and she's going after Donald Trump again. Before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit all notifications, watch the video to the end. All right. So Letitia James, we already know, in case you're new to my channel, I always feel the need to just catch people up to speed. She is the New York Attorney General. She's a Democrat. And everybody who's watched me for a while knows that I call Democrat politicians, at least the bad ones, demon rats. Sometimes I'll just call them demons. But in any event, she went after Donald Trump for mortgage fraud. And if you remember, there was no jury, there was a compromised judge, there were no victims, but everything was kind of manufactured and orchestrated to anything to make him look like a bad guy, right? And you know, it come to find, and he's supposed to pay over $500 million, like it's like an interest accruing every day. And they're on appeal right now. And so anyway, she has gotten into trouble herself. She really has gotten into trouble. She has committed allegedly mortgage fraud, where it states that she's married to her father. Another instance on the apartment building, she said it has only 4 units. It actually has 5. So she got the residential rate, which is a lower rate, lower interest rate. And so she got lower payments. What was the other one? There was another situation where she has 2 properties in Norfolk, Virginia. And if you saw my video concerning that, there's literally 2 houses side by side. And the investigator comes up and he's like, "Do you know Letitia James?" And the little boy says, "No." And the woman says, "Get back in the house." So she said that she lived, that was her primary residence in Norfolk, Virginia. That is what she said on paperwork to get a better rate. Well, you cannot be a resident in Virginia and be the New York Attorney General. So allegedly there's a whole bunch of fraud around this woman. And you know how I feel about it. I just have to say allegedly, but it's looking like it is true, because in the video that I'll link at the end of this one, so you guys can catch it more up to speed, I brought the receipts. I had like documentation, the certificate of occupancy, and all sorts of things. And I, again, will link that video at the end of this one so that everybody can catch up. I just report what's out there, whatever is trending at the moment. That's what we do. And now she wants to come after the president. She is not going to give up, I don't think. But what she is going to find, that what she is doing is not blessed by God. It is not. I'm going to read this article to you right now. All right. So here we have this article. This is coming from the office of the New York State Attorney General. And as you can see, it says Letitia James, New York State Attorney General. Make this a little bit bigger to make sure you guys can all see it. It says Attorney General James and Governor Hochul announced lawsuit against Trump administration for imposing illegal tariffs. Now, New York and 11 states sue to stop tariffs that will slow economic growth, increase unemployment, raise inflation, and risk recession. Imposed tariffs have led to increased costs of imported goods, agriculture, energy, construction materials, and labor. All right, so this was from a couple of days ago, but let me just say this about the tariffs. Okay, it may look like it is a bad thing. President Trump has been very clear, very transparent that it will be some short-term pain for long-term gain. Just like if you want to go to the gym and you want to lose 30 pounds, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a few months. We got to eat differently, which is going to take some self-discipline. Got to get up and go to the gym and be sore and hurt. But if you continue to do the right thing, there will be a great, magnificent result. That is what I liken the tariffs to. Okay, the tariffs we've been taken advantage of as a country. We just have. I mean, other countries have been putting tariffs on our goods, and we virtually put hardly any tariffs on them, and we've been losing money. So at the rate we were going, if President Trump had not done the tariffs, we would have gone down into the slippery slope of nothingness. Okay, our country would have ceased to exist economically. We couldn't have kept this up. We have become less of a manufacturing superpower, and President Trump wants to bring manufacturing back to the United States of America. So he's putting tariffs on other goods that are coming into our country, just the way they did us, And former presidents have been talking about tariffs as well. I showed you a clip with Nancy Pelosi talking about tariffs, saying, look, we've not been putting tariffs on their goods like they have on us. Why? And that was back in the 90s. Okay. So people were talking the same things that what Donald Trump is saying now. Now they want to make it look like he's a bad guy. But everything he's saying, some Democrats were saying it decades ago. So keep that in mind. They're a bunch of hypocrites. But so the tariffs are ways for us to make money. And again, it's be short-term pain for long-term gain. And you don't have to necessarily purchase products from those countries. It is also meant to encourage people to purchase American-made items as well. So it is meant to do a good thing for this country. It took some guts to really do this. And I thank God for President Trump, but it's hard when you're demoing a house in order to renovate it. Things look like they're torn up. But once you get all the demolition items out and renovate the home, it's beautiful. So that is what I liken to it as well. So I'm going to read this. It says New York Attorney General Letitia James and Governor Kathy Hochul today announced that New York and a coalition of 11 other states are suing the Trump administration for illegally imposing unprecedented tax hikes on Americans in the form of tariffs issued under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. The Trump administration's IEEPA tariffs raise taxes on imports from nearly every country on earth, including America's closest allies and trading partners, and they have already caused severe economic damage. Now, so she's going to make it sound like a horrible thing, but I don't agree with how they are assessing this. Don't get me wrong. The lawsuit filed by Attorney General James and a coalition of attorneys generals argues that Congress has not granted the president the authority to impose these tariffs, and therefore the administration violated the law by imposing them through executive orders, social media posts, and agency orders. He didn't. Okay. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with him doing it through executive orders. The coalition seeks a court order halting these IEEPA tariffs, including the worldwide tariffs that were paused on April 9th, and preventing the Trump administration from enforcing or implementing them. The president does not have the power to raise taxes on a whim, but that's exactly what President Trump has been doing with these tariffs, said Attorney General James. Donald Trump promised that he would lower prices and ease the cost of living, but these illegal tariffs will have the exact opposite effect on American families. His tariffs are unlawful, and if not stopped, they will lead to more inflation, unemployment, and economic damage. Now, the demons are very hypocritical because prices were already high under Jim Crow Joe and Kamala Harris. They were already high. And yes, they are going to take a little bit of a hike because of these tariffs. But just as I explained to you, this is meant to bring manufacturing back to America. And you know, the Democrats, the demons, they do not want our country to be in the kind of shape that Donald Trump does, because they're really, in my opinion, for communism. Allegedly, they're for communism. They really want us under the control of China, in my opinion. We'll just say allegedly. President Trump's reckless tariffs have skyrocketed costs for consumers and unleashed economic chaos across the country. New York is standing up to fight back against the largest federal tax hike in American history, said Governor Hochul, Kathy Hochul, she's the governor of New York. Attorney General James and I are partnering on this litigation on behalf of New York consumers because we can't let President Trump push our country into a recession. Now, this is the same people, these are the same people that let all those illegals come in here and use up all the money and take away resources from tax-paying lawful citizens, but I digress. At most, the IEEPA allows the president to impose tariffs in response to extraordinary threats or a specific emergency. However, since February, President Trump has been unilaterally imposing sweeping tariffs against America's closest trading partners. These tariffs expanded in a series of announcements in April to now cover nearly every country worldwide, including places that are not involved in international trade, such as the Heard and McDonald Islands, which have no human inhabitants. In addition to the severe economic damage that President Trump's tariffs have already caused, the coalition warns they could cause even more destruction if allowed to continue. The lawsuit argues the IEEPA tariffs will increase unemployment, raise inflation, and threaten American wages by slowing economic growth. The president's tariffs will harm the states and their residents by making important goods ranging from electronics to building materials more expensive and scarce. More expensive and scarce. Like, when that pandemic took place and there were no paper products, going to the grocery store, everything is literally gone as far as paper products. The whole thing that happened with the pandemic. So they're talking out of both sides of their mouths right now. These costs will severely impact New Yorkers. Economists estimate the increased tariffs will cost the average family thousands of dollars per year, and a report from the New York City comptroller estimated that even a mild recession caused by the tariffs would lead to over 35,000 lost jobs in New York alone. New York state agencies could end up paying over $100 million in extra costs due to tariffs increasing prices. Retaliatory tariffs imposed by Canada on the hundreds of billions of dollars in electricity that New York imports every year would cause New Yorkers' energy bills to spike. Across the state, small businesses that rely on imports are already reeling from the threat of higher prices and uncertainty caused by the administration's policies. In central New York, the Cortland Standard, one of the oldest family-owned newspapers in the country, announced it would cease publication in part due to an expected tariff on newsprint. Okay, so this lawsuit was filed, in the United States Court of International Trade. They assert that President Trump has no authority to impose tariffs, as he has, and it goes on to say that with this lawsuit, coalition is seeking a court order declaring that the Trump administration's IEEPA tariff orders to be in violation of the law and ordering the administration to stop implementing or enforcing these tariffs. Joining Attorney General James, now let's hear this now. There are other states involved. Joining Attorney General James in filing this lawsuit are the attorney generals of Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Maine, Minnesota, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, and Vermont. And Vermont. So they are against this. She has to fight because this is going to she's trying to distract from the fact that she's got all this mortgage fraud going on. She is actually allegedly committing mortgage fraud, while President Trump was not committing mortgage fraud. This whole conundrum of them trying to get Trump by any means necessary, even if they have to make things up. And if, they're trying to stop the golden era, and I can't say this enough. This is a battle between good and evil. I don't care what anybody says. Letitia James is, in my opinion, she is a crook. She just is. She is a crook. Well, Linda B, how could you say that? She's a Black woman. Evil doesn't care what your body looks like on the outside. Spirits are real. What we don't see controls what we do see, who we see. There's a spirit controlling me. There's just like as whether it's the Holy Spirit or not controlling me, or you, or whatever. And I'm praying it's the Holy Spirit controlling me. I pray that it is, because I try to do the right thing, but we fall short. But when you see someone lying, when you see them making things up, when you see and look in their history, there's a whole bunch of fraud. And the video that I showed last night, this is not one instance of fraud. This is like a trail of fraud with Letitia James that spans over 20 years. So you can't tell me this is not intentional. And now she wants to go after, President Trump, because he is calling to be, there's investigation into Letitia James. Yes, so everyone's calling for it. So that's what I have right now, guys. I will stay on top of this, because I brought the receipts about her. It says on paperwork where it says like she was married to her father. And then you look her up and it's like, that's her mother's name is Nettie or Nellie. I'm just like, what? But I honestly don't think she married her dad. I think that was just stated so that can get like preferential rates or something along those lines, which I did not know you got if you were married, but it might be in that particular state in New York is like that. Now, next I have, this is coming from by way of Benny Johnson, but Mike Davis says that Letitia James is going to prison, brought fake charges on Trump while committing fraud herself. There is compelling evidence when I warned her several months ago that we're going to put her fat A squared in prison is actually coming true. All right. I know she's going after Donald Trump, but this right here that I'm about to show you, I believe this is one of the Trump lawyers by way of Benny Johnson who posted this, that this Letitia James is actually going to prison. This is coming from Mike Davis. Okay, so let's listen to this.
We're doing the entire show based on Tulsi Gabbard's referrals for criminal prosecution, criminal leakers from inside the intel agencies. And we've sort of buttressed that with also the referrals for Letitia James for criminal prosecution. Are these criminal prosecutions going to be picked up by the DOJ? Because the system is that they don't have to criminally prosecute these referrals.
Well, I remember, Ben, what day was it? It was like the day after the election. I came on your show and we talked about Big Tish James. And I think we made some headlines. I got in trouble again, which is pretty routine on your show, which I enjoy. It doesn't bother me at all. But I think I told Big Tish that her fat ass may be going to prison. And wow, who knew that we would have been Nostradamus that day? Because now there is pretty compelling evidence that Big Tish, oh, there you go, I dare you. There was pretty compelling evidence that Big Tish James lied on a Virginia mortgage application. She said it was her primary residence, even though she's the New York Attorney General, so she can get a more favorable loan agreement in Virginia. And lo and behold, she was probably lying. And lo and behold, that's mortgage fraud. And lo and behold, there are prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia who will probably indict Tish James. I mean, it's pretty compelling evidence. And she's the one, remember, who brought the bogus fraud charge against civil fraud charge against President Trump for supposedly duping Wall Street banks, sophisticated Wall Street banks, paying them on time as agreed in full with interest. And Tish James said that Trump lied about the value of Mar-a-Lago. She said that Trump said Mar-a-Lago was worth like $500 million and it's worth double that. But Tish James said, well, no, it's only worth $18 million because that's what the tax assessor says it's worth. If you just go on Zillow, go on Redfin and look at what property cost in Palm Beach, Florida, the most expensive real estate in the world. Trump has 20 acres of the most prime real estate in the world. It's, I think, the only property that touches both the Atlantic Ocean and the intracoastal waterway. It's clearly worth at least $500 million, if not $1 billion or more. And to say that it's only worth $18 million, a tennis court at Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million. And Big Tish took Trump to trial in New York on this and got Arthur Engeron, that nut job trial attorney, to railroad President Trump, where it was a kangaroo court. There was no due process. Now Democrats want due process for Tren de Aragua terrorists and MS-13 gangbangers who beat women and traffic women, and but suddenly they care about due process, but they didn't care about due process for President Trump. So I would say to Big Tish, when I warned her several months ago that we're going to put her fat ass in prison, I think that's actually going to come true.
So he's saying, Mike Davis, saying that it looks like it's actually going to come true, that she's going to she could get up to 30 years is what I've been seeing. Now, do I believe she's actually going to do that kind of time? I really don't think so. I think the most that will happen to her is that she steps down from being the New York Attorney General. That is what my belief is. But with this thing going on between her and Governor Hochul, who is the governor of New York, against Donald Trump concerning the tariffs, I was like, they've actually joined forces. I know in another podcast, I saw someone who believes that, no, I think Governor Hochul will want to distance herself from Letitia James. That is not what I'm seeing based on the article that I just read to you at the beginning of this video. They're actually joining forces to go up against Trump. Those demons don't know how to let a thing go. They chew on a piece of meat till all the meat gone and the bone too. They don't know how to stop. Okay. But Governor Hochul and Letitia James are going after Donald Trump. This is doubling down, and this has to do with the tariffs and other states as well that I gave you: Vermont, Arizona, I think New Mexico, others. I mean, all these other states are joining in as well. So we're going to see, but we're going to be praying. And for those of you who don't know, we are having a fast. You do not have to do this. Okay, you do not have to do this if you don't want to. If you have certain health conditions like diabetes or anything else, please do not participate in this fast. We're praying for the country that the right thing happens, that this race war that they want, they do not get, and that the economy does well and everything does well under President Trump's presidency. We're doing the fast on Monday. Okay, April 28th. I think that's Monday. I think that's the date. April 28th. From the moment that you get up, no food, just water and maybe some tea without sugar and honey. We're going to do a real fast until 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So at 6 p.m. Eastern, the fast will be over. And so that will be 3 o'clock for those of you on the West Coast and, and so forth, 4 o'clock Mountain Time and 5 o'clock Central. 5 o'clock Central Time. Okay, so just remember that. And that's what we're fasting for, that there is no race war, that the evil powers that be get nothing that they want, while President Trump is in office. Well, thank you all so much for watching this video. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit all notifications so that you never, ever miss a video that I post. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America, and march on, warriors.